Hey, Brendan. And Mary has joined. Welcome. This is
Hey, Dave, how you doing?
I'm okay. How are you today?
Doing all right.
Gina's here. Brendan, are you in the office?
I am, yeah. Not a lot of people down the loop these days.
I know it's been a long time since I've been down there, and kind of
Not missing much. It's kind of empty and sometimes kind of creepy.
I guess that's what happens during a pandemic, right? All right, folks are assembling. Hopefully this is a convenient time. And we're not
Hi.
dealing with Zoom fatigue.
Hello.
Sure.
Hello.
Hi, Dave. Yeah. Just disregard my email. I had,
Oh,
I think in one of your emails, you reflected January 11th. And then
Oh.
I went to a link. So I was confused if it was today or not, but it
Gotcha.
looks like it's today. Okay, good.
Yep.
Hi.
Yeah.
Good
And
afternoon.
hey, Jennifer, this is Gina. Someone else actually just reached out to me about a Fed bike too. So when your husband emails me, I'll forward it on to you.
Oh, yeah. Great. Thanks for your help. I wrote you back and he's done some reconnaissance and some of what you shared, he did some research on, but we'll talk offline. I appreciate everything.
Yeah, when Dave forwarded me your email, I thought it was a lost cause, but our community here is awesome. So
Yeah, no, thank you. It was very kind, very helpful. Thank you.
Hello, Ed and George and Cynthia. Right at noon, let's give it a minute here as folks join. I'll be taking a screenshot just to make sure everyone gets, or the folks who expressed interest are here. Oh, here we go. Charlie and Keith and Elizabeth, awesome. So I want to make sure that I recorded the last meeting. I think this will be a better meeting, second time around. So we could share that out to you all. And then of course, if anybody's unable to attend as well. But now I really set the bar high. So hopefully I can live up to that. So welcome everybody. Yeah, we'll give it to 12:01. I want to make sure that we are respectful of your time, have time to answer your questions. We'll do brief introductions. I think some of you all know one another, and then we've got some new names as well, which is great. And I'll share my screen. I've got the agenda, which I think you've seen or it's been referred to. We'll kind of just go through a quick description and some overviews, and I want to leave time obviously for your questions as well. So we are at 12:01. We are recording this. Okay, and Kelly is joining us. So yeah, thanks everybody for taking the time to meet this afternoon and talk about what we're calling our regional action teams, a volunteer effort from Wright, Illinois. If you see me glancing to the right, it's because I have my agenda here. I want to make sure we don't skip over any of the key details. I'd like to start, since we have a decent sized group, not too big, but I want to start with some quick intros. Maybe we'll just do name and the town you live in, and we kind of leave it at that, just for the sake of time. So did this last time and I was calling folks out. So we'll try that and hopefully my order doesn't change. So I'll start real quick. Dave Simmons, Executive Director of Wright, Illinois, and I live in Elk Grove Village. Gina?
Hi, I'm Gina Kenny. I work with Wright, Illinois, and I live in Willow Springs, which is southwest of Chicago.
Keith?
Keith Holtz. I live in Chicago on the southeast side. And let me do a quick hi today. And who else am I missing? I know it's someone else right now. I can't think of. It's a kind of me. I know it's someone else on this call. And then Dave, I see you all the time.
Thanks for joining. Charlie,
Yeah, Charlie Smythe, Urbana, Illinois.
welcome. Ed,
Howdy, Aurora. Good to see everyone.
Brendan,
Brendan Kevinitis, Chicago.
oh, my order's changing here. Cynthia,
Cynthia Hoyle, I'm in Urbana, Illinois.
and George.
George Farrell, I'm in Lebanon, Illinois.
All right, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Adamchak, resident of Chicago, but currently in Glenwood, Illinois, 30 miles due south of the city.
All right, Jennifer.
Yeah, hi, Jennifer Ullman, and we reside in the village of Northbrook.
Welcome. Kelly. Oh, it looks like you're muted, Kelly.
Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Okay. Kelly Williams, president of the McLean County Wheelers, and I live in Bloomington, Illinois.
All right, and Mary.
It muted on me. Mary French, Rockford, Illinois.
Welcome. And Bryant.
Hello, Bryant Kelly from Libertyville. Sorry, I'm kind of multitasking with a couple other meetings at work, but nice to be here.
No worries. Thank you. And I think that was everybody. Anybody I skipped? Speak up now. Okay, awesome. So again, thank you all for joining. Want to talk briefly about Ride Illinois. I think you're all familiar with us, but we are a statewide nonprofit bike advocacy organization. There are probably some familiar names and faces here. Ed Barsati, who had been executive director for 20 years, got this whole thing in motion. And then we have some board members as well who are going to be kind of key to this initiative as well. Cynthia Hoyle from Urbana, and we have George Farrow from Lebanon. Thank you for making time to chat. We did have Patrick and Bruce, the other two board members who have expressed interest. They were involved in our other meeting. So I want to go ahead and share here. Give me just a second. I've got some documents and some information that I wanted to share with folks. We have a new attendee. Oh, Christopher. Give him a second to jump on here. All right. Looks like he's. All right, Chris or Christopher, I'm not sure what you prefer. When you hear us, if you wouldn't mind just giving us a quick intro, if you can hear us. All right, we'll get back to it. Okay, so I think what you all should be able to see now is the page on the Ride Illinois website that you went to find the application for the regional action teams. And it's got some information. So I kind of want to just run through that, interject at any time with questions. I mentioned at the last meeting that I refer to myself as a product of empowerment, which means people, good or bad, you guys can reserve judgment, but over the years, people have said, hey, you know, Dave, you can do this, and we're going to support you. And that's how I see this initiative with Ride Illinois staff and the board supporting a larger volunteer effort to further our impact in the state. So the idea behind the regional action teams is to build out a volunteer crew who have interest and share the interest and share the goals of Ride Illinois. So we decided on 4 regions. They're not arbitrary. I mean, there is some thought that went into it, but they may evolve over time. And what I'll show you next is a map of the folks who have expressed interest in this initiative. But for the time being, we have the 4 regions as you see on the screen. And we said we have to start somewhere. We don't want to be either too optimistic and break it up any further. So here's where we're going to start. But just know that over time, based on your input and interest from others, we hope to, or we'll be open to kind of changing how this is structured. It's a big state, so again, got to start somewhere. And Chris, I see you're on now. Would you mind we did a quick intro, name and where you're located.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry I'm joining late, everyone. I actually just came in from a bike ride and I'm still kind of frozen. So Chris Valdez from Brookfield area. And there you go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Got it.
All right. Any questions or comments on the regions? Again, just interject, you can chat or just speak up. I want to talk about, change this from.
Dave?
Yes.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Did you look at population as you set these regions up, or was it mostly geography?
I'd say more so geography. I know I kind of proposed something and ran it by Ed, just for his knowledge of the state over the years. So I think it was I'd say more geography, right, Ed? Is that fair to state?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, obviously most of the population is in the Chicago area, but I just thought I'd ask.
Sure. And again, that's something we can revisit, right, as we learn through this process. We specifically, or one of the kind of facets of this program out of the gate is to not, we didn't want to have this top down, here are the things that Riot Illinois is focused on, right? We have broader categories, but we really want our volunteers and interested individuals to help us develop this program. So there's an intentional approach to be kind of somewhat loose out of the gate. So just kind of jumping ahead, but next steps would be to pull together the regions and have a conversation about kind of short-term and long-term goals. Maybe some easy wins, some low-hanging fruit, and then some longer-term goals. So just know that that's part of it. We didn't want to, again, have that top-down, assigning people who said they wanted to be involved. We want your input. These are a few things that we've identified as opportunities. After this meeting, I'll send everybody an email. What we're asking is, now that you know more, do you still want to be involved? Right. Another one kind of is the chair question, and we'll look at structure in just a minute. But is that something you still want to be considered for? And then of these 6 opportunities, as we're calling it, which one resonates? Which one do you see wanting to get involved in? Because we talked in the last meeting too about there'll be certain things that will be independent of region, right? So perhaps it's some legislation that we decide to lobby for and work on. Well, that oftentimes, if it's certainly if it's statewide legislation, it doesn't require someone to be in a particular region. So we had a lot of cross regions and then independent of regions. It was a great conversation because there were things that we really hadn't talked about. So that's kind of where we're looking right now. The team structure, we're looking at, we have a board member, which I'm very thankful to Cynthia and George on this call, someone who could help not only share their expertise, but also help to kind of guide the regions and guide the individuals as we start getting involved in things. I see this as a mutually beneficial initiative, meaning, Riot Illinois will certainly benefit from your expertise and your energy and your time, but we also hope that you take something away from this as well. So whether that's, a resume builders, something you could put on LinkedIn, maybe building new skills, making new connections. We want this to be something that you benefit from as well. So we've got several individuals who live in the region they represent. So here's what I wanted to show folks right now. And I will say one of the questions we'll ask you in the follow-up survey is also, are you okay if we share your contact information with others, as part of this team? We just want to, I don't want to assume, so we'll just ask you to say yes or no. But this map shows the regions, the individuals. So who can we pick on here? All right, Dick Yingst here out in Batavia, for example. The board members are yellow, so just for visual, but it shows where the interest lies right now. So for example, in the Northwest, we actually had 2 other folks from the Rockford area just sign up. So we're looking at 6 individuals in the Northwest plus Bruce. Central, we've got 4 plus Cynthia. South, only a couple so far, plus George. And then of course, as expected, the Northeast, we had a lot of interest. So we'll take a look at that and see how, I don't want to go like out of the gate and say we're going to split up this region. I know Keith, you and I spoke the other day about how to potentially, look at that region and subdivide, but that's where we're at right now. So again, kind of expected. We don't want to, the initial thought was we'd do applications and we'd say, oh, we'll take this person and this person, but if folks are interested in this initiative, I think the more we have, the better off we'll be. So we're not going to be kind of picking and choosing. And then the chair, which is one of the positions, really what we're looking for that individual to do is someone who would, attend a quarterly board meeting and provide a brief update on kind of what's happening in that region to keep our board in the loop. So that's kind of the key additional responsibility, and that'll be discussed, once we get to the regional meetings. Okay, let me pause there. See one chat. I don't know if this is a question. Oh, Cynthia's purple. That makes you special. So questions or comments or concerns kind of through or with the information that's been shared so far. Okay, I'm gonna take that as a good thing. Okay, a note about the meetings. So what we think is going to be kind of the step out of the gate would be working on some quarterly meetings. So after this, which is the second of the kickoff meetings, for those who are still interested, we'll look to put together the next meeting. The way we'll probably do that is, if you're familiar with a doodle poll, we'll just ask you, well, I think perhaps you already filled one of those out for this. We'll ask for folks for your availability. We will put together a specific agenda. That was a concern from one of the attendees at the last meeting. So we're not spinning our wheels. Again, back to the kind of low-hanging fruit, short-term, long-term, we want to have some early wins. For one reason to show the effectiveness of this program, but also to keep your interest. I know we're now asking 15 people for an hour of your time, or maybe 45 minutes today. We want to make sure that that's time well spent. So, but again, your input will be definitely necessary for that. And then I want a quick note on funding. So we just secured a very generous donation from Union Pacific Railroad, and we're going to use that specifically for the Regional Action Team initiative. So what might that be? That could be materials that you as volunteers, let's say if someone's representing Ride Illinois at an event, make sure you've got materials that help to get the word out. We're going to look to, just to kind of skip ahead, we're going to ask, as you work on anything related to the Regional Action Team, is that you share how much time you spent. So there's a volunteer log, which we'll look at in a second, but we're going to give some thought to incentives for our volunteers. So put in X number of hours, we're going to give you, a Ride Illinois neck gaiter, or, something like that. It's not going to be a new bike. We didn't get that much funding, but we want to make this mutually beneficial. So we don't have the details on that, but we are fortunate out of the gate to have this funding from Union Pacific. And then let's see, yeah, a couple other things here. The conflict of interest, I think that's not the best term and we didn't change it, but the idea is, you're kind of in this for, not for you, that you have a pet project that you want to push through. It's more so, that it's for the people of Illinois, and we want to make some positive change over time. So whether you see that as a conflict of interest or not, that's kind of the idea, is that this isn't necessarily a self-serving initiative. And then the volunteer log, it's rather simple. It's a Google form. I think you're all familiar with Google Forms. The idea behind the log is really twofold. One, to get a sense of where your time is spent, on various programs, and within the regions, and then we've got a category that will help us measure the interest and the impact of this program over time. And number two is having this information can and should help for getting additional funding, applying for grants, things like that. So whether you go in, once a year, once a month, you certainly wouldn't have to do this every day, but we just want to be able to capture how much time you as volunteers are dedicating to Ride Illinois. So that's the idea behind that. A couple other notes here. I kind of mentioned the approach that, we don't have any strict parameters out of the gate, that we're all in this together and we're all equals. And so we'll help kind of define some parameters and some goals. I do think it's important to point out, that there was the one question in the application that you filled out, and it was the, what type of cyclist do you see yourself as? And there's the 4 common types, right? That came from the planner in Portland, whose name escapes me. And I think everybody in this call end up in the strong and confident, or enthused. What is it? Oh, enthused and confident, or strong and fearless, right? Which is great. But what our target should be is those interested but concerned folks, who represent kind of the 60 to 65% of the population. So the families with kids, the new or returning cyclists who realize the only thing they could safely do during a pandemic is to ride their bike. So just to set kind of that mindset of who we want to be kind of working towards, working for. And then again, empowering you all as individuals and team members to help kind of make this work. I mentioned opportunities across the regions, and of course within the regions as well. And I want to share a couple examples, real world examples, things that are happening now that, again, just for examples. Number one, we've had some recent conversations with a gentleman by the name of Charles Pearson, who is from Waterloo, Iowa, but would like to plan a Juneteenth bike ride in the Quad Cities. And so he reached out through a Ride Illinois member, and is now looking for input to help pull this event off. He has a larger plan of the African American Heritage Trail from Omaha to Chicago. But he's like, I don't know how to pull off an event. Who do you know? And we've been in touch with a few folks. So that's, potentially an opportunity to help with a little bit of event planning. We have, the opportunity for doing some outreach through, or along with our soon to be released Ride Illinois Safely educational program. So that is just going to need some help getting the word out and helping to connect with folks who might want to get involved in education, social media, graphic design, legislation. Charlie from Urbana sent a list of some legislative priorities. Looking at the list here, public speaking, member outreach, building community. If you follow Ride Illinois on social media, or if you, in our newsletter, we put out this this article and this graphic, just basically saying if you ride a bike in Illinois, we want you as part of our community. So I think that's kind of a central theme that's going to flow through this program as well. Level of commitment is whatever you want it to be. If you have an hour a month, great. If you have an hour a week, whatever time you have available. What I see, my kind of looking forward. So once we get beyond kind of that next, the regional meetings is, there'll be initiatives that are going to be kind of ongoing that will kind of chip away at, but I think it's also going to be opportunities for folks to just step in and yeah, I could do that. So I want to keep communication going, both ways between the volunteers and Ride Illinois staff, because I'm hoping we could share some opportunities that you might say, yeah, I can, it's crappy weather this weekend, I can knock that off, as well as the longer term legislative and policy and whatever the priorities we decide on. And then I wanted to show, one other, this is what we're going to ask, and I realize this is really small. We'll send to you all after this. And again, now that you know a little more, and we'll certainly get to questions here in a minute. Do you still want to be involved? Would you still interested in being in a chair? There's no maybes anymore, sorry. And then the contact information, we want to make sure that you're okay with that. Your level of excitement and interest, and then those 6 areas that were on the website. Like, what are the ones that interest you? And then, of course, any other questions. So that'll be the follow-up to this conversation. And with that, I would like to entertain questions and comments. And those of you, Gina, Ed, Cynthia, and George, who attended the last meeting too, if there's things that came up that I haven't mentioned yet, please.
Well, I was going to point out, you mentioned the whole conflict of interest, but it's kind of more gray in that if there are things that you're really interested in and want to do, like maybe it will fit in with the regional action teams, or if not, like you can probably still work with us to try to get contacts and resources in order to continue what you're doing. So whereas, Dave's right, we don't want you to join and be like, I'm going to do this just to further my own goals, that there's, wiggle room. We want you guys to still be able to work on your own bike advocacy stuff. And if it's something that doesn't fit in with what that team's doing, we do want to still be able to help you to continue with that.
Yeah, good point. All right, so what are the thoughts? What are the questions and comments that come to mind at this point? Charlie?
Yeah, so as we were as you were talking, I wrote down some various ideas. I'll share them later. But I think one thing that would be helpful is if we had maybe the members and in particular the club and other group members of Ride Illinois by region. So to reach out and maybe those folks would have an hour here, an hour there to help do some of the things that we identify. The Juneteenth ride, we've tried to get that going on and off in our area through the years, and it's difficult, especially if you don't have somebody from that community to help out.
Okay, no, I love that. That's a great idea, because we are fortunate to have many what we call affiliated clubs, right? So we have their information, and we could definitely loop or share that with each region. Thank you.
So Dave, Jennifer?
Yep.
Yeah, so thank you for all the efforts. Appreciate the team. So to me, just to unpack this, like Ride Illinois is the octopus, and then the rats are the tentacles, and we go out in the region and champion some of the issues with interfacing with a current board member. Is that the expectation?
I think, yeah, when it comes to like what the specific opportunities are, and it may be from, your couch, right? And doing a little bit of work on, say, social media or outreach, or it could be going to an event. I think there's going to be far more opportunities than we're probably able to man, right? But
Okay.
the idea behind the board member is to offer their guidance and expertise, as well as with staff, and we'll be here to support you as well. But having a board member in the region, the idea there is that they're already somewhat familiar with kind of what the priorities are, what the challenges are, and can help provide that guidance as we kind of go through one step to the next.
Okay, so I'm hearing like a variety of projects. It could be at home or in person, or obviously with the pandemic, just a bit of both or something.
Sure.
And then initiatives will be coming from Bride, Illinois, what we want to achieve and get awareness on. A couple things you mentioned, like having been a co-founder of a couple of nonprofits, and as you know, one most recently in the bicycle advocacy space in Wisconsin, we have bylaws, code of conduct, but obviously we can't police everything. So you mentioned the conflict of interest. So as we're implementing projects or things for the group, I just want to make sure, I guess, you guys have thought about mechanisms in place where if there are things happening that we can't control, but we might feel uncomfortable with, if other parties are engaging in proselytizing or, pushing their agenda. I don't want to be the police of that, but I may not want to be aligned with that. So I just wanted to understand how you would be addressing those issues.
So we're not asking for any kind of document to sign or like a conflict of interest policy. If something like that were to arise, we would ask you to bring that to my attention or my attention and the board member. And one of the things that I think we've been pretty free about, is it might have been on the application, it might be on that page, is, in the end, if something's not, if a rat member is not, we're gonna embrace that, by the way.
We need t-shirts.
We need t-shirts. Yes, exactly. We need t-shirts and a logo.
Okay, I'm going to call out Gina. I'll get back to your comment, Jennifer. But when we first came up with the thought of action teams, it was just the new word for a committee, right? And it was, we're going to do regions. Like, all right, regional action teams. And Gina's like, you know what that spells, don't you? Like, yeah, but so anyway, let's have fun with it. I think. Instead of coming up with a new name. But to go back to your question, so if someone is doing something that is not kind of in the best interest of the organization or of their individual regional action team, we'll remove them from that team.
Okay, good. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understood the awarenesses around that. And I personally, as getting involved as a resident or citizen or a bike advocate, I want to control what I can, but sort of not get involved with areas that may not be my purview, basically. So,
and so we mentioned like the initiatives. Sorry, real quick, Cynthia. Like the initiatives are, it's not necessarily going to be that, Ride Illinois staff and board are going to say these are the things that we would love for you to help out with. We'll decide, within the groups. Like, these are some things that are worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it'll be staff and board, if for some reason there's a question of it, does this fall within our mission? If it's something that's not directly related, we might say, let's not do that. So there'll be a little bit of oversight from that standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia?
Okay.
I was going to offer an example. For example, if someone joined a regional action team because they wanted to launch a bike touring company and they wanted that to be one of our initiatives to advertise bike tours, then, that would be questionable as to whether or not this is the appropriate venue. Yes, we want to support bike touring, but that's not an initiative that we would be supporting for profit as part of this, activity.
Okay, right. Thank you, Cynthia. That's helpful. I just have been involved on the leadership side and the other side when certain things come up, and there can be a lot of gray areas where some people think they're doing right by the entity or by the initiative, but then it comes out that it's really about their personal thing they're working on, and it gets sticky wicky. So I just want to make sure that I know what the protocols are based on this group and things like that. That's all.
Sure. And, we don't have all the answers at this point. Part of this, being a new program, new initiative, we're going to learn some things along the way. Hopefully, there's not hard lessons to learn, but I suspect when we look back, say a year from now, my hope is we're going to be able to say, look, we have these awesome volunteers, and these are the things that were accomplished because of what they did in the time that they invested. At the end of the day, Ride Illinois has 2.5 staff members.
Mhm.
I mean, well, Ed's more than just the percentage of his time, but we won't get into the math. So we have to. The idea behind empowering our volunteers to do more is really just helping to extend what a statewide organization can accomplish. And I promise you, there'll be lots of opportunities. Just kind of thinking of some of the conversations that I've had recently. Had a very interesting conversation, for example, with Wheel and Sprocket Bike Shop yesterday, and they're like, "Yeah, we want to put your, you got any merchandise we can put in our shops?" It's like, where did this come from? You never would have planned it. Not that that's something this organization or this group would get involved in, but talk about like coming out of left field. So that's as things come up, when we know where your interests lie in those kind of predefined 6 areas, like, yeah, Jennifer wants to go to events. I don't know, Chris wants to promote bike safety quiz, whatever it is, right? I think there's gonna be lots of.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Dave. It's very interesting times too, because as everyone knows with the pandemic, the shortage of bikes, my brother, sister-in-law back east, they were trying to look for bikes, but I think this new awareness of biking is not just for certain populations or, racing. So there's a lot of equity discussions going on and things like that. So there's a lot of opportunity here. So I'm happy to help. Thanks again. And I'll just be quiet now, but thanks for addressing my issues.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
You bet. All right.
Chris was raising his hand, Dave.
Go for it, Chris.
Hey, Dave, and thanks everyone for putting together this. I think it's really a great, fantastic opportunity. Some of what we've already kicked off and discussed already, but having sort of those boots on the grounds, closer regional locations, connecting to some of either the advocacy groups or just bike shops or individuals looking for information to better their their time on the road. For me, that's important. Yes, I probably go into the more fearless and or as my wife would say, crazy of the cyclists that are out there, but I recognize that not everyone is like some of us, and that's part of my mission through some of the nonprofit work, and I'm sure like most of us do as an advocate, is to get people safe on the road. And usually one of the first things we do is the bike safety quiz. Yes, Dave, you're right. I do hand that one out quite frequently. So the bike safety quiz for me is really important. The more visibility I can get on that to the rules of the road within my community and so forth, the better it is. And in driving sort of my locality into resources that are very rich with that Ride Illinois provides. I think that's a great way for us to become that conduit throughout the community and make sure that we are providing the most out of what Ride Illinois do. Because as you guys mentioned, you, Ed, and so forth, you guys are just a handful of folks that are out there kind of love to ease the pain of getting the mission out there more frequently. So I'm very excited about that. As much as I love to ride, I want to make sure that my kids and generations down the road know how to safely get out there and what resources exist for them. So as much as I can do that, that's what I'm here to do.
Great, thank you, Chris. And if you don't know Chris, he's doing some great work in Brookfield, and very, exciting stuff. You know, one of the other things that came up, and I failed to mention already, and I apologize, is when your applications came in and you listed the skills that you have, the public speaking, the graphic design, the GIS. There's one guy who's an urban planning student, lives from Illinois, but he's going to Ball State. There's just a slew of really impressive talent throughout the group, which is fabulous, because that's just gonna help, and it, again, kind of mutually beneficial. One of the things that Ed has done, throw out another example over the years, is review future IDOT projects. And so there's a couple folks, I don't know if it was anyone in this call or not, who, have some of those skills that might be able to help out. The challenge of infrastructure is that, it's always years off. And so while Ed has had the time to kind of review those, wouldn't it be awesome to have, say, another set of eyes or someone else who can help out? I see this initiative as, potentially leading to, future board members, for example, or, if we get to the point where we have the opportunity to hire someone else, you guys are that bench strength that, we haven't had to date. So I apologize if I feel like super excited and I may be coming across that way, but I am, because I see lots of real potential here.
Yeah, a couple of quick notes. Reaching out to Ride Illinois when there are issues with roadway design, and having the regional action teams sort of be our SWAT teams for that, I think is really important. We had an example of that here in our area. 2 cyclists have been hit and killed on state highways in Mahomet, a rural village near us. And they were not being designed. There was a repaving to be done on one of them, then they were not designing it properly. They weren't allowing for a wide enough shoulder for bicyclists to be on it. And so Champaign County Bikes reached out to Ride Illinois. Conversations occurred with our regional office. The director there actually came to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission meeting of Urbana and said, please send me, concerns you have. And the design was changed and upgraded, even though, we initially got pushback when we brought that up. So I see these regional action teams as being really critical in that. And Dave is right. We have some expertise here that we can look at that. We can look at the design, and some of us know what the design is supposed to look like, and tell you. When a bicyclist who works as an engineer for the village says, so are you saying that sometimes that IDOT doesn't follow the guidelines? And I said, yes, I'm saying that. It is true. And the other thing I wanted to mention, Dave, was Bike Month. And I think that all of us could be looking at how to promote things during Bike Month. And a lot of it's going to be virtual and education oriented. And so Chris and everybody who's very interested in the education part of it, I think that that's a real opportunity for us. And I'm hoping to offer some classes. And with the funding that we have for that Dave has helped set up with our Safe Illinois program, I had a question at Champaign County Bike meeting last night about whether we're going to offer an LCI seminar. I think there's interest in that as soon as we can do those again. Scholarships for people, et cetera. I think that's all something that we want to see this happen more, especially downstate. We have sort of a scanty spattering of certified instructors, and the distances are big.
Mm-hmm.
Travel times may not be different. So in Chicago, you spend about the same amount of time traveling short distances we do traveling long distances, right. But you can do it by bike sometimes and we can't. So
yeah. Yep. And I want to just touch on 2 things real quick. When it comes to one of the bullet point talks about, raising funds for Ride Illinois programs, I see that as a kind of an indirect benefit. We're not going to be asking you to, all right, you're a regional action team member. Your goal is to, drum up $1,000 in membership. No, it's by through the outreach and through the education and through the engagement with people, that some portion of those will say, yeah, I like what this group does, so I'm going to give them a little money. And then the other thing I wanted to touch on is diversity in lots of different ways, right? So not only, I think, what's popular in the news now, which, connecting with Black and brown cyclists, but also, as Cynthia mentioned, diversity in terms of spreading out throughout the state and connecting with, whether it's mountain bikers or people who, go to people in Southern Illinois, for example. Like, we don't have a strong connection with them. So to become more diverse, not only in the obvious ways, but also in ways where, again, we really want to say, if you ride a bike, you're welcome in our community, and let's figure out, how we can all work together to make Illinois better through biking. It's kind of a new twist we're putting on our mission which is to make biking better in Illinois. But I think, we want to look at it kind of both ways. So I'll get off my little stump now. And
Dave, I want to add to a point that Cynthia made, which is the deaths in Muhammad led to some more local interaction with IDOT. And thanks to the earlier work that Ed had done with IDOT, he gave us the idea of these of the signs, which you can see in my background here, which we got put up in 2 locations around Muhammad where those deaths occurred, and we've expanded the program. But the thing is that we've developed a local relationship with our regional IDOT director, and that's something that probably is extremely valuable for all of us in the regions, to know who all the IDOT directors are for that region, and develop some relationships there. So, thanks to the work that Ed and Cynthia and others have done, we're using it as an education tool.
Sure.
10 of these signs up now.
Yeah. And Charlie and Cynthia are part of Champaign County Bikes, another wonderful organization that's been doing some great stuff in Central Illinois. So I suspect between Cycle Brookfield and Champaign County Bikes and the McLean County Wheelers, you guys should all look up each other's organizations and kind of see. But excellent point, Charlie, right? Establish some relationships kind of out of the gate, so that when something happens or when an opportunity presents itself, it's not that, like, who is this person? They're just all of a sudden fired up and calling me. Okay, Kelly, Mary, Keith, yeah. Oh, go ahead, Keith.
So one of the things you said about not really having a clear Ride Illinois agenda, a part of me wants to say, I want to push back and say, yes, you should actually have at least some audacious idea. So one of the things, and this is related to a lot of what's kind of danced around, this whole idea.
Keith, you're breaking up a bit.
When there's people having
Keith breaking up for you guys too?
Keith, you're breaking up. If you would turn off your video, your audio will probably improve.
Yeah.
Point of showing everyone from the U.S. Department of Transportation to IDOT or Chicago CDOT that a lot of people are right. I'm sorry, I think I have a back. Can you hear me? Can you?
All right, that got a little bit better.
Okay, is it better now?
Yeah,
okay.
Better.
So when I said about pushing back, because it was more about having this audacious idea goal of really sourcing from all levels. There's a lot of people ride in Illinois. So one of the things you touched on, still not good?
Better, definitely.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay, so just wanting to just say, to show everyone that there's so many people riding at all levels through Illinois. So it's important to show, like here on the side, is it, should I start over?
We got it.
Yes. Okay, so the idea was just that to show everyone that, okay, I'm gonna stop talking because apparently the connection is really bad.
Yeah, you throw it in the chat or shoot me an email, Keith. I think what you're saying is, yeah, we can certainly dream big, and that should be part of it. So Ride Illinois, we kind of set this goal of being a top 5 in the LAB rankings, right? Just as a like an umbrella goal. So by doing kind of what you're suggesting, right, and pushing the envelope, that's certainly going to help. So as we get into those, as we have our next set of meetings, let's start defining what that looks like. We'll get an agenda together. Also give you guys access. We're going to use Google Docs and Google Sheets and ways to communicate that way, right? But give you an opportunity to offer your initial brain dump. Like, these are the things that I think we should focus on, and I'd like to do that before we have the regional meetings. So so everyone has an opportunity to kind of digest it. Let's see. All right, and Keith's going to email thoughts. All right, thank you, Keith.
And I was going to point out that will probably be a little different for each of the regions, because like Northeast has a huge amount, like Central and South, there's probably not going to be, things could be added onto an agenda more last minute, but particularly Northeast, because there's so many different people involved, that'll probably be the one that most needs in the agenda.
Yeah, that's one thing. The RAT teams are really going to help with an agenda that I've had with Ride Illinois. I think I've been on the board now for 10 or 11 years. But there's the fact that a lot of the activities, a lot of the emphasis has been Chicago centric, and we've not been reaching out to the entire state. So each team is going to, by having regional teams, each region has its unique issues, its unique projects, its unique needs, and that will better enable Ride Illinois as an organization, because all these reports are going to come back to us on the board, and we're going to be able to better allocate our resources across the state to do what needs to be done. I don't know why I'm getting feedback, but let's stop. It's a hearing aid. But this is one of the issues that I think these teams are going to solve. And so, even though the materials are coming out, I'll be doing some heavier recruiting. In fact, I'm on my other computer. I'm sending out something on about 3 Facebook pages to get people more involved again as a refresher. So we're looking forward to it. So anybody in the southern region, I'm working hard.
Thank you, George. And you know, when I first joined, you didn't mince words, right? You told me exactly that. So yes, is this an opportunity for that outreach, for an event? I still think, you know, a Ciclovia type event in a mid or small size town might be, you know, of interest. Something that, you know, kind of either under the guise of or with in connection with Ride Illinois, we're doing different types of events that attract different people, you know, families, college students, whatever it might be, right? So that's why you all are going to have ideas. And if you're like me, your brain starts kind of churning through ideas, you know, as I get excited about things. And that's where we want the ideas to come from. Just to kind of reiterate that point. It's a quick time check just to kind of keep us honest. And then I'll repeat or remind you that I'll send an email out after with that, ask you to fill out that Google form. Again, now knowing what you know, do you still want to be involved? That is kind of key. And then the follow-ups, and we'll have a few minutes if there's other questions. The follow-up will be you know, for those who are interested, hopefully, you know, whoever's willing to share their contact info, we'll make those connections via email. And then we'll go about scheduling the first meetings within each region. So those are kind of next steps. And then there'll be that kind of the agenda building, and then the sharing of documents that would happen prior to those meetings.
Hey, Dave, how soon are you looking to start those regional action team meetings then?
I mean, sooner than later. I think it'd be great if we could get, in the next, say, 2-3 weeks. I know everyone's busy, right? That is the beauty of the doodle poll, is that we can see when folks are free, but that's kind of what I'm thinking next. So let's say by early February, early to mid-February, yeah.
And Dave, can I just add, so this meeting seemed to have a lot more people that were talking about like infrastructure and stuff. So I just want to point out again that these are going to kind of be determined by each team. Like I'm our resident mountain biker, so I do ride on the road, but I probably do the bulk of my riding on dirt. So whereas I think we talked a lot more about road projects and stuff this one than the last meeting, that is still important, but I don't want anyone to have been on this call and think that that's all you'll be doing.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Gina, you and I, throw another example out, is Will County Forest Preserve District, right? They wanted someone to come out and talk about bike safety and ABC Quick Check. And Gina, I think you went to 2 of their events and I went to 1, and it was fun. We got to chat with some people, and I know the one couple in particular I was chatting with, were like amazed at just some of the simple tips. So that's a little bit of outreach, kind of encouragement and education. Just one of the opportunities. If that's not your thing, you don't want to talk to the public, then that would be something you'd express interest in. So we'll definitely there will be options for sure when the weather warms up, whether it's sitting at home or kind of getting out and about too. And again, because we want to make this mutually beneficial, or for you all, we'll look for things that that you can be proud of.
One of the things I think that was on there was legislative. What kind of legislative things are you thinking?
Well, Charlie sent a great summary of some of the Champaign County bikes. Stiffer penalties, for motorists, and boy, we're lucky to have if only we had an attorney on this call, right? And at some point, a push for stop as yield, Idaho stop, safety stop, however you want to look at it, right? What if now we have this? We put together a statement that says this is why we feel, let's use that as an example, is worthwhile. And now we've got an army of volunteers and enthusiastic folks who are having conversations and educating people about it. Because I know when I've had any conversation about stop as yield, it can get pretty heated right away. But if we do a little bit of education ahead of time and then strike when the iron's hot or the legislation is favorable, or the House and Congress, well, why not?
The iron's hot, Dave. I mean, we've got 4 states now, and then California is introducing their new initiative. The iron's hot. Let's do it, man.
Yeah. I admittedly, I have not done a lot of lobbying. I've done a little bit, in kind of locally. So, if that's something that you have experience with, awesome, right? Yeah, but I think we need to build that case. We would need to find a legislator who's willing to sponsor or co-sponsor a bill. So
to Dave, to what extent, I know you mentioned working with affiliate clubs and some other groups in the Northeast region. Is there some coordination with Active Trans? Because certainly they have a legislative liaison.
Yes.
I mean, we've all worked with Active Trans some of us have worked on Active Trans with legislation. So we're not on our own here.
Sure. Yeah. Excellent
Yeah,
point.
we really need, if we want to do some major legislation, we need Active Trans on board.
Yeah. Yes. And that I think Ed, in one of our first conversations, when I was like, hey, what do you think we should do this Idaho stop? Ed was the voice of reason. And we talked about Active Trans, right? And we talked about whether it's Kyle or Barb Cornu or whoever, right? Last time I spoke with them, they said they're remaining neutral, but it's been several months and they now have a new executive director. So Brendan, you're involved with Active Trans. I don't know if there's.
I'm on the advisory board. I'm happy to, work with them. I mean, I've been pressing them since Ron was there, and I've talked to the new executive director a couple of times.
Okay.
She's great. She comes from the social justice world.
Yeah.
She's obviously a biker, and I mean, I think she'd be up for it. I know they got a lot on their plate,
Right.
but I definitely get a sense that they're excited to move forward. They understand that we're at, you know, a tipping point here. I mean, there's a real opportunity. And, you know, as we come out of the pandemic, and now that we've gotten, hopefully we're heading towards a period of more political stability, this is stuff we can do. Now's probably the time.
Yeah, and with the increase in the number of bicyclists, and you know, if we want to address those that are concerned but interested, we need to make the road safer. And one of those things is fixing a problem in the only vulnerable user law that we have. Brendan's well aware of it. He helped me a lot in addressing at least one of the, you know, the 2 deaths in Muhammad. We tried to get the state's attorney to charge part of the law there, and she, you know, wiggled out of it by citing the lack of, you know, the use of the word reckless in the state law, and which is you know, and it doesn't link up right. So there's a fix there that's needed, and if we really want to make that law to be effective, especially, you know, with all the people that are out there texting and driving at the same time, among other things, you know, it's the only way we can address it is to fix the law so that states attorneys can really use it.
Right.
Before we hop off, Dave, I just also want to add that I think another initiative that we should work with Active Trans on, there was just this big criminal reform or law enforcement reform bill.
Right.
I haven't looked at it, but one of the things I think we need to be doing is asking our communities to look at tickets that are given to pedestrians and bicyclists, and what the race and geographical location of people are. And so I think that's an initiative that we should ask them to work with us on. And then, as Charlie's mentioning, education with law enforcement about doing enforcement against drivers. So I would really like us to work with Active Trans and to engage the regional action teams on this. I think it's a critical component of making biking safe for everybody, because safety from cars is one thing, safety from being harassed by law enforcement is another.
Especially now, if I may add, I mean, there's a real appetite to take some responsibility away from police departments and give them to other organizations or create other organizations. I mean, you know, the emotive term defund the police, but that's really what we're talking about, right? Taking this sort of responsibility away from the police and giving it to another organization that may be better suited to deal with it.
Yeah. And so just to answer your question, and then I think we can wrap up, Brendan. I invited Maggie Malin, because she's, you know, the suburban, she got her bike walk every town, right? To be in, you know, a member of this group, if you will, of the Northeast Regional Action Team. She basically said, keep her absolutely in the loop, that she doesn't know that she can commit. But there is that coordination with Active Trans, right? We're not trying to create something, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. They already have a pretty far reach. So I see this as yet another way that Ride Illinois and Active Trans can partner. So.
Sweet.
All right, we're a little past 1. If there's any final thoughts or some great comments that were shared, thank you. Elizabeth and I we're the state coordinators for the National Bike Summit for Illinois. So we'd love for folks to sign up for that and help to lobby. Lobby day is March 3rd. It's inexpensive this year. It's only $50 for LAB members, I think.
$50 if you're an LAB member. I want to make sure you get the plug now, because early registration ends February 1st. So you've got 10 days to get yourself signed up.
And virtual, so
Dave,
you don't have
it's
to travel
virtual.
to Washington, DC.
Yeah, a lot more
Dave
affordable
and
this
Elizabeth-
year.
Oh, okay. Dave and Elizabeth, it would be, you know, it'd be really great if we could meet in advance of the beginning of the summit too.
And we are. That's
Yeah,
part
okay.
of the whole statewide
Okay.
coordination. We'll give everybody the lay of the land. That's the other thing. Everyone even though the summit this year is, I think it's scheduled for March 1st. For the
Yeah, it
first
starts February 28th. Yeah.
Yeah, February 28th and the first few days into March. There is a deadline to sign up if you do want to be included in Lobby Day, which is that Wednesday, the final Wednesday of the summit. So Please sign up sooner rather than later before it slips off your radar if it is something you want to be part of.
Yeah, Audrey and I signed up last night.
Awesome. It looks
Awesome,
like
Charlie.
Kelly
Great.
signed up too. All right.
And
So
Audrey, by the way, would like to, I think, get her LCI. So
oh,
we'll throw that out there.
fantastic.
That's
But we
in
have
the
we have
works.
essentially we have 10 LCIs in the Urbana-Champaign region.
Hmm.
So
So we can learn from some of the progress you guys have made. You've been pushing the envelope for years, which is great. All right, let's kind of wrap up for now. Look for an email. My phone line is open. Email, share your questions, share your concerns. We have a direction, and I'm excited about this. But again, want you all involved. Please reply to the Google form just so we can kind of wrap that up, and then we'll be in touch. Within the next week, hopefully, with requests for your availability for the next meeting. Okay.
Sounds
Thank you
good.
all very
Thanks,
much.
Dave.
Thank you.
bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a
Thank you,
great
Dave.
weekend.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Nice